Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. I guess this is kind of an episode of Drinking Champagne. I am not joined, as always, by Mr. Andrew Champagne. Instead, I have a different guest. Andrew is over in New York. He went back home, Saratoga. The lovely picture he's got behind him, and he's going to be spending the Labor Day weekend up at Saratoga. So if you are on track, reach out to him. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk and meet with you. But this is going to be a kind of a light week for us here on the Wrong Lead. I have a work function tomorrow, so today, no stream Thursday night. So yeah, I wanted to make sure we got some stuff out for you, and I'm bringing my good friend Bill here. If you're around on the Discord, you've probably seen him pop in and out a little bit. But we're going to talk a little BetBash. I've talked before with Emily Gullickson a little bit about BetBash, and but I guess before I explain what BetBash is, Bill, why don't you talk to me a little bit? What is BetBash?
Sure. So BetBash is a conference for primarily focused on the sports betting industry, but primarily targeting sports bettors. So about 4 years ago, there's a famous Twitter personality known as Spanky who runs the conference. This is now in its fourth year, and it's mostly about bringing together bettors who don't normally talk otherwise. The idea is to get people together, network, have a good time, try to do some seminars, maybe play a couple of hands of blackjack, and but it's primarily like a networking event. And for somebody like me who's not terribly active on Twitter, doesn't have a lot of friends who are in the gambling space, it was a good opportunity to talk shop with some other like-minded people.
Yeah, and I guess before we get into it, I know I had you on I think probably a couple years ago at this point. We talked a little bit about database handicapping, but I guess now, and this is probably a really loaded question at this point because I bet you last year you would have had a completely different answer. But right now, what would you say your handle percentage is between horses and sports and we'll just say sports and sports related betting, because I know some of your favorite betting technically isn't sports. So
Yeah, last year it was probably 80-20 in favor of horses. This year it's flipped. There's a number of factors that go into that. One, started to get an edge on the sports betting side, so I started to try to invest some time in exploring that. If you remember from August last year, the whole thing with Maple Leaf Mel and New York Thunder kind of set me off for a little bit, where I needed to take a break and I was getting frustrated with the industry. So I took a break for a little bit. I always play Tampa every year during the Tampa meet. Didn't play quite as much as I usually do, and I played the big days this year. But Saratoga, for somebody who's been every year for the last 20 years, I didn't go this year. A lot of that was scheduling. Didn't play too much, so I feel bad because I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the sport. Love it. I've been into it for since I was a little kid. But my handle has definitely moved more in the sports direction over the last year.
yeah, and I still not to get too into the weeds on this before we get more into the conference, but like I still as much as I love horse racing, I still think the barrier to entry for sports betting is just so much lower, because I'll tell you what, man, I don't watch a lick of college basketball except for March Madness, and I'm going on like 3 years in a row that opening weekend, hitting at least like a 5 or 6 legger for a couple of $100, and then like I'm like thinking, like, when the heck was the last time I hit a pick five? Like I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, no, my sports betting handle has gone up. I'll say significantly, not a ton. Obviously, I've had some help in the MMA space. That's probably made me my biggest scores. And
Yeah,
Bill, you probably know
you
who
and
I'm
me
talking
both
about.
from the same guy, I think.
But yeah, it's interesting to hear, someone so devoted to horse racing, and even you being way closer to Saratoga than I am, not being able to make it up. So, our friend Matt Carlson is kind of shared similar feelings. And he was there that weekend. I think Bill, you were up there the weekend I was up there last
Yep.
year. So I think we avoided most of the nonsense. But yeah. So why don't you talk to me a little bit about, I guess, kind of the calendar of events, or I mean, did you get there? Well, first of all, did you stay downtown? Or did you stay on the strip?
Yeah, so the conference was at Circa,
Hmm.
and my wife and I, we stayed there. So, back in May, I was like, I'm kind of 50-50 if I want to go to this thing or not. But my wife and I, we had some airline miles that are expiring. My wife loves Vegas. We got married in Vegas, and she hasn't been out there for 5 years. So I'm like, it's a good excuse. If not, if the conference is a total bust, my wife and I get to spend a week together in Vegas. So, but because the conference was at Circa, we decided to stay there. That was my first time ever staying downtown. I'm not like the biggest downtown guy. I feel like, if you're going to Vegas, you should see it at least. And my dad and I were out there last October. We went to the Mob Museum. The Mob Museum's nice. We took a drive through Circa. Circa's like the gemstone of downtown right now. Um, Other than Circa, for me, there's not a heck of a lot. I think some people would have a different opinion. Like there's free performances, music on the strip, or in the was it the Fremont Street
Yep.
Experience. There's good places to eat, but my wife and I, our places tend to be more strip side. So
I guess
we got
I'm a
yeah,
little curious actually, just because you said it's been a couple of years since your wife had been.
yep,
What
yeah.
what were her feelings coming back after not being for a couple of years?
I mean, she enjoyed it. I think she's happy. She spends the day by the pool,
Okay.
and then we go out to dinner after. For guys like us, I don't. I mean, my wife picks up the tab sometimes, but I don't think she feels the sticker shock that
Okay.
maybe you and I have experienced, and she doesn't gamble. So, like, when it's like all the tables are 6 to 5, you and I are going to be wringing our hands over it, but my wife doesn't know the difference. So,
Yeah.
for her, she had a good time.
Yeah, it's funny. I the table games for the most part have priced me out. You know, I I'm a big fan of craps. And you sit down at a, we'll say, $25 table, right? You can find $15, sometimes maybe 10, but basically it's 15 or 25. But we'll say 25 because we're talking the strip. You sit down at a $25 table, I mean, you probably need, the way I play conservatively, you'd probably need probably about $1,500, I think, to sit down at that $25 table. If I'm doing the math in my head right, because you figure, hey, we'll do $25 on the pass line, 2x odds, and then we'll say either buying the 6 and 8, or doing like a 3 point molly, like rather conservative type stuff. And you got $75 out on the table. You want to be able to, or you get sorry, $225 out on the table, and it's like you want to be able to be live for a couple of rolls, and it adds up quickly. So I play the $5 bubble craps machine, because then I can sit down with $150 and like actually be able to play. But yeah, it's just wild. Just how expensive, how high the limits on some of those places have gone. My wife desperately wished that Circa was on the strip, because she loves, A, how clean it is on the inside, B, how limited the kind of riffraff is,
Yep.
and and see, she just, I mean, she just loves Vegas Vicky, and they got
Mhm.
her kicking right there in the middle of the thing. We always go stop by and get a drink there, but yeah, love Circa. Um, but continue. So you guys get into town. You're staying at Circa. What's kind of your plan for the week?
So we got in on Monday, and the conference started Wednesday morning and concluded Friday afternoon. So we got in Monday late, early afternoon type thing. We just, wound up having quick dinner, chilled out, nothing serious. Tuesday, wife went to stadium swim, soaked up some sun. It was 120 degrees out. I don't know how she does it, but she manages. Some of those frozen beverages probably help a little bit. I went down, played a little bit of blackjack. So, as much as we complain about limits, granted it's Tuesday afternoon, but I was playing $10 minimum 3 to 2, which is pretty good by Vegas standards
At Circa?
these days. Yeah, at Circa.
Oh man, we're gonna have to. I'm actually going with my buddy Gary in December, and we want to at least one day go down to Circa. But we're gonna be there during the week, so maybe we'll have to stop by there and play some. We like 3 card poker, which I know is like one of those carnival games, but like if you can get a $10, it's not that bad, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but like you said, Circa's great. I mean, I think it's 21 plus, and they enforce it. So like
Hmm.
when you walk in the door, they card you. Doesn't matter. I had a shock gray hair. Nobody's mistaking me for 19, but they card us every time we walk in. My only complaint I'd say was that they keep the music a little loud. I
Hmm.
think they're targeting the younger crowd, and especially when you're talking at the conference, it can make it a little tough. But and the other downside is, so our favorite restaurant in the whole world is China Poblano, which is at the Cosmopolitan.
Hmm.
So every time we go to Vegas, that's where we got to go there. So that's where we went Tuesday night. It's a $30 Uber ride each way from Circa to the Strip. So that's the other downside of staying downtown. We had a great dinner, came back, and we went to the Legacy Club, which is like the rooftop bar at Circa. They do a great job. Great cocktails, great view. It was pretty hot, so you don't want to spend a lot of time outside, even at like 10, 11 o'clock at night. But great scene, nice and quiet. Good drinks. So
I'm afraid to
and then
ask,
go
what's
for
a
it.
what's a cocktail set you back at Legacy Club?
Low 20s
Okay.
probably. I mean, I don't know like what a gin and tonic or something's going to run you,
Yeah.
but I had something off like the cocktail menu. It's
Yeah.
one of those. It's got 20 different ingredients in it.
Yeah, their cocktail program there I hear is amazing. I've never been. I think they have a dress code technically. So and I think
They didn't
last
give me a
time.
hard time. I wore shorts and they didn't
Oh,
bounce me. So
there you go. We always go to Vegas Vicky's there, and the the cocktails there are just awesome. And the bartenders are really cool, really good. Um, but yeah, that's like my favorite thing. I'm a big cocktail guy, so I love going to those places because um, you know when you try to make a cocktail at home, like oftentimes you find a recipe and it's got like one ingredient that you have to like just buy so much of, and you're never going to go through all of it before it goes bad, or there's like all kinds of like syrups and stuff you got to make. So I think there was a drink that my wife ordered that had like a hibiscus syrup,
yeah,
and I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do with like all this hibiscus syrup? And my wife is like, I'll drink all of it. I'll put it in everything. But yeah, I've been wanting to go to Legacy Club. Maybe I'll twist Gary's arm to go. But we're gonna be staying on the strip, so we're probably my favorite place to go on the strip at least once during the night is the man, I'm blanking now. It's in Delano, Mandalay Bay. It's all the way on the top floor, and I
oh,
can't remember.
I think
Skyfall
they call it
Lounge.
stuff. Yep.
Skyfall Lounge. Yeah, love going there. Awesome view, and the drinks there are good too. But continue.
Yeah. So Wednesday, the conference starts. So the downside about bringing my wife was that obviously there's lots of social events
Yeah.
that take place after hours. So, I got my wife with me during the day. She's all about the pool, chilling out. But like around dinner time, that's when we get together, have a drink, go out to dinner, that type of thing. So Tuesday night, they had the registration open bar. And I missed that. So Wednesday morning for me was getting up early, registering, get my badge, all that fun stuff. So I think it was around 10 o'clock. We got everybody in the lobby, and there's probably like, I don't know, there's probably like somewhere in the order of 500 people that attended this. And the first event was speed networking, which is the one that everybody always says is the main reason to go. So you register your profile, a couple weeks in advance on the speed networking site. They ask you a bunch of questions. You fill in, what do you do? Who do you want to meet? That type of thing. And I didn't think, when I was filling it out, I was like, I don't know if this accurately reflects who I am or what I'm doing, but it's close enough. But they did an exceptional job. So you get 15, I think it's 2-minute meetings or 90-second meetings. It's one of those where, you get your list of people, and it's in a giant ballroom, and they have lots of like the 2-person tables. So like, they call time, you look at your roster, you go to the table, you sit down, and then, you chat for a couple minutes. So I was flipping through my roster once I got it, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was a pretty good coverage of, what my interests were. So for me, like one of the reasons why I wanted to go to BetBash was, I found a nice little vein in the sports betting world the last couple of years, and it got shut off earlier this year, where I basically got limited out of every single one of my outs. So I was like, I know there's people who move for other people. Maybe I'll meet somebody and, see how it goes. Very first person I met, we hit it off right away, and we're going to do some business together. Very first one. So that worked out well. There was some other people that I met horse racing related. So one person was a partner at a CAW, and I had to laugh. I go, you're the guy I'm always playing against, and now you're sitting against across the table from me. Nice guy, but a little cagey. Didn't want to talk too much about what he was doing, or how they kind of did business. So I'm not sure what he was looking for by going there, but he definitely didn't want to talk horses. I got seated with Dennis Montoro, who is a regular on the podcast scene, kind of like an independent CRW style better. He was very nice. He did the panel with Amwager. I got to meet, I think it was the VP of sales or marketing for Amwager. I got seated with another marketing person from Amwager. Got to meet a couple of professional handicappers who did the horses from Australia. So, for a guy like me who's not terribly social, it was great. That was worth the price of admission alone, just the speed networking. If nothing else paid off, that certainly did by itself. So, after lunch, they go into the first round of seminars. So they would have, I think it was 3 or 4 sessions going at once, and they were like hour-long sessions with an hour-long break in between. Some were better than others. A lot of them were 101 style seminars, and Spanky said that he has to cover, kind of a wide variety of bases. So like, the first one I went to was like Spank Odds Advanced User Guide, and that was pretty good. I actually had breakfast with the guy who did it, on Wednesday morning, so that was nice. A couple of the other seminars were a little touch and go. I don't know if you know who Plus EV Analytics is on Twitter. He's like,
I've seen him. Yeah.
yeah. So he did a session that was probably my favorite. He crushed it. It was a session on correlated parlays, which might have been a little mathy for most people, but I wanted the mathy material, so it was good for me. But on the horse racing side, the only thing that was really there was Amwager was out in force at BetBash, which was really good to see. I know Amwager is like a prior sponsor of you guys, and I'd say that they're probably they seem like one of the few people in the horse racing industry that actually seems interested in doing any real marketing or growing the industry. So they had their CTO out there. I got to talk to him for a little bit on some of the stuff they're working on. They're finally going to have a mobile app coming out pretty soon. I got to talk to a handful of their other reps, very nice people, happy to give me the time of day, listen to my rants, and I'm an Amwager user for my horse racing stuff. So it was great that they target people closer to me who are more on like the technical side of the house. They have betting APIs and a bunch of different things that, technical bettors can tie into. Really good to talk shop with them. They did a panel with I think it was Mike Maloney, Dennis Montoro, and Chris Laramie from Bet with the Best podcast, and it was a good panel. They're obviously very very knowledgeable guys, but it was definitely targeted at. I think the premise was we're around a bunch of sports bettors. Let's introduce them to the benefits of pari-mutuel wagering. So a lot of the discussion revolved around trying to bring sports bettors into the pari-mutuel world. And they thought they did a good job. I got to meet all of them, super friendly people. So that was the seminars. They had seminars on second half of Wednesday and most of Thursday. Friday was panels. And I went to, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think there was an event on Friday morning, like a breakfast type thing. But I wound up skipping the panels. The panels, none of the topics were, there's some of the topics were like, women in the betting industry. The Spanky has like a lobbying group that he's putting together called I think it's American Better's Voice, where they kind of did a session discussing challenges in the betting industry. And then there was one other, I think, with like Billy Walters was getting interviewed, but I wound up not making any of those. My flight out was supposed to be early Friday afternoon, but thanks to American Airlines getting delayed, it turned into quite the adventure getting home.
Yeah. So I guess with the way that the like seminars and the panels go, like are there so like I've only been to like work conferences, right? And like at the one I go to, right? Um, there's multiple ones going on at the same time, and you kind of pick and choose which ones you go to. Is that kind of how it was at BetBash, where like maybe like every hour or every 90-minute slot or whatever had maybe two different things going on? You kind of had to pick and choose your way through.
Yeah, during each of the slots, there was four to pick from. And one of the tracks was there's obviously a lot of sports betting podcasts. Um, One of the tracks was like, this podcast is doing a live broadcast from BetBash. This podcast is doing a recording at BetBash. So one of the tracks was all podcasts. I went to one of those for a podcast that I listen to pretty regularly. And the other ones were kind of all over the place in terms of there was one called there was one related to taxes and gambling that was very useful. I thought they did an excellent job. There was one on like legal considerations in the betting space, and then there was some stuff where it was like 101 or like how to ace your fantasy football draft, stuff like that.
Yeah.
For me, like my interests tend to be more on the originator and the technical side, but there's a lot of people, particularly that are that follow Spanky's material. They're in the top down space, tracking odds and line movements, how to get down, bunch of different topics related to that. There was a couple of ones that were quote unquote sold out, where you had to reserve your space in advance, and if they were at capacity, they were you couldn't get in there. So like there was a couple of them like Chinese Mike, who's like Spanky's betting partnership guy, did a session on betting partnerships. I would have liked to go to that, but it was full up. So it was a couple of ones like that. But plus EV Analytics, they wound up moving him to the big ballroom, and it was a full house. He was the main event.
Yeah. Um, so I guess the let's go back a little. You talked about spank odds, right? And for people who don't know, that's kind of like a is an aggregator. Is that what they call it?
It's like an odds screen where you
Odd
can
screen. Thank
see.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're basically able to kind of see, the odds across multiple books and stuff like that. I use unabated every once in a while, but that's because it's
Mhm.
free. Or some of the screens are kind of free. Spank odds I think has got a free component now, but I think that's also behind a paywall now. Are you using one of those, or are you doing that on your own now?
So I use like the free mode of Spank Odds because generally I'm not primarily a top down bettor.
Hmm.
Most of my handle's been on the esports side where I'm originating. So I have line scrapers for the games that I'm interested in because there's no my challenge is there well my challenge and I guess my benefit is that there's no esports data anywhere as it relates to betting. I had a call with somebody today where I was joking maybe I'll just give up the betting part of it, start scraping line data and selling line histories because NBA, you want to buy NBA line histories, it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
To get like last season's, you want to see what the closing line at Pinnacle was for every game. You're going to spend like $1,000 on that data set. But Spank Odds, I talked to one of their customer service reps. They're planning on launching esports pretty soon. So I'll probably bump myself up to like a full, a proper top tier license when that happens to save myself some, energy on having to scrape the lines myself. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with the products, but I'm not doing like top down stuff quite so much. So like I use it to like, see what's happening. Maybe I'm missing something, that type of stuff. Just scratch my curiosity.
Yeah, I used unabated for a couple of weeks last year, and I just think that at a certain point, like they gave you like a 7 day free trial, and then I think I might have paid for a month. But like the amount that I was paying for it versus the amount I was handling, like it just didn't
Hmm.
didn't really make a bunch of sense because I want to say like for the full NFL season, it's like $600, 500-600, something like that. Which
Yeah.
like if you're betting $100, if your unit's $100 or more, I mean like that's nothing, right, over the course of a
Hmm.
season, right? Well, when your unit's $10, well that's a very significant amount. So I've messed around with top down stuff and done some of that. So it's interesting. We complain a little bit about horse racing data. And some of the pro tools that there are out there for sports betting can get just as expensive. So
Hmm.
if you want to take it really seriously, but like you said, there's ways I think you can kind of make your own if you're adept at such a thing. I am not. I'm not that technical, but
I mean, if
uh,
nothing else, you can go to like, Yahoo Sports and look at a box score. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And you can copy, if you're motivated enough, you can copy paste the data into Excel or type it in or whatever. So it's like with horse racing stuff, they throw every speed bump they can think of in front of you to try to keep you from playing with the data. I said it in the Amwager seminar or the intro to horse racing seminar. Equibase should just give out the database to every college in the country because how many data scientists like they should just be using that for their data science classes, for their statistics classes. And I guarantee you every year there's going to be a kid that shakes out of that program and goes, I can beat this.
yeah,
What's it going to cost Equibase to just share that with the schools? Everybody wins. I guarantee you'll like I said, you'll see a bunch of kids shake out that, MIT blackjack team kids going, I can beat this. And that'll be a nice little juice to the handle, but we can't get out of our own way.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, as I think the horse racing pools move, uh I don't want to say they're solved, but as they move closer and closer to, I guess, like perfection at a
Mhm.
certain point, right, where every horse is going to be the exact odds that it should be. Um, I, uh, I do think that the future in that is probably going to be closer to something like exchange, or I mean, at some point maybe they got to do something about the vig. I don't know, but I just don't think the volume is going to be is there. So it's getting tougher and tougher for people like us who are only able to put a bet in, you know, 5 to 10 seconds before the pool closes,
Mhm.
versus being able to put them in zero point 0.1 second before it closes and basically move the line entirely to being 100% efficient. I actually wonder, and this is a thought I've had, like with with the amount of CRWs that are out there. I mean, at a certain point, they're going to be like they got to be playing against each other,
Yeah,
right?
they're
And
just
and
playing each other after a certain point. I mean, like Hong Kong seems to have it sorted. I mean, I know Hong Kong isn't what it was in its heyday, but they seem to have a healthy balance. I mean, we think we got it bad with CRWs and the American or the North American pools. Hong Kong started that. Hong Kong is, where the Bill Bentners of the world operate. I mean, that those are deep waters, but you look at the stands and they're filled every day. Massive pools, and it feels like maybe the odds are close to their true odds, but it feels like everybody's getting a piece. Whereas in the North American pools, it feels like people like us, we're lucky if we get thrown a breadcrumb these days. But yeah, at some point the CRWs are just going to be playing each other, and at that point you got to ask yourself, it's like why are we even betting on horses at that point? Why
yeah,
don't they just do Zed Run or something like that? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, and like it's funny, right? Because with like any type of gambling, right? I'm of the mindset, right? If I go to the track, if I go to the casino, right? I have a number in my head, and it's usually the amount that's in my pocket plus a little bit, right? I usually give myself a little bit of leeway. But if I go to Vegas is the perfect example, right? I go to Vegas with $1,500 for a weekend or something, right? It's like, look, I if I leave with zero of these dollars, I am perfectly okay. Just let me play with it until the end of the weekend, right? Let it hang out, right? And I feel like sometimes now they I think everything is so designed now to take it away from you as quickly as possible. That it's not even possible. Sometimes it's hard to even like enjoy the gamble. Like I still love going to Vegas, and I've taken to playing different stuff now. When I went, I was basically 100% playing the machines, playing slots. Now I play bubble craps and I play video poker a lot more, right? Stuff that lets you, it's little bit of a slower bleed. You can have a little bit
Mhm.
of a run, hit something, and get some, actually be able to sit there, get some free drinks while your money gets drained away slowly. But yeah, I feel like sometimes with horse racing, it just feels like everyone's just like trying to get their money as quickly as possible, like as if they're just like on a sinking ship, and they're just like, all right, how can we get all this? I mean, heck, I'm trying to buy a Breeders' Cup ticket, and A, they're sold out. B, general admission is $300 for 2 days.
Yep.
What are we doing? You know?
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, maybe this is unfair. It feels like for a while now, call it the last 5 years, nobody's focused on growing the pie. It's how can I how can I get mine before the ship sinks?
Yeah.
And that seems to be up and down the chain, whether it's the tracks, the horsemen, the betters, the ADWs, the the ecosystem. Everybody needs to eat to thrive, and even in like sports betting, you're already seeing a lot of shenanigans where, like, New York said our sports betting tax is going to be like 51% on like the gross or whatever it is. When they announced that, I was like, how is anybody ever going to make any money? And then now DraftKings tried to float that winner's surcharge or whatever, and people started getting mad, and they're like, well, we can't afford the tax rates. It's like, well, you agreed to the tax rates, you know what I mean? So I think if everybody took a step back and realized that how can we keep a healthy ecosystem that it turns into a money printer for everybody over the long run. It doesn't, it's not spitting out hundreds, it's spitting out 20s, but it's going to last you a lot longer. Poker cannibalized itself quite, or online poker had a lot of problems, and you and I both used to play probably a good amount of online poker. That was an ecosystem that cannibalized itself. Um, it's just hard for people to take a long-term view, and even if you're like the one voice of reason in the room, you're getting shouted down by everybody else. Trying to figure out how to skin the sheep instead of shear it.
Yeah, I had a really hard time over COVID. Um, so there's a gentleman by the name of Sheldon Adelson who's passed away uh, since then. But um, during COVID, he owned the Venetian and Palazzo, and he paid every single person who worked for him their full salary, and he kept all these people employed, even though obviously all the resorts shut down. And um, like he did so much for his uh, the people of Las Vegas and the people who worked for him. And obviously they're the biggest hotel. I think they might be the biggest hotel in the world, if not at least in the U.S. The Venetian, and Palazzo is huge too. But man, did one person not do like so much to destroy online poker than
Yep.
that man. I mean, the amount
He's
of money he
publicly.
spent to lobby against it, and I mean other stuff, right? He's very, very involved in politics, and if you want, you can read all about his stuff. But for our purposes, um, the amount of money he spent to kill online poker and to keep online poker out from like legalizing, and it's funny because now, and I don't know how much you follow the poker scene now, but it's kind of having a resurgence. I don't know what happened, but over the last couple of years, the World Series of Poker is booming again, and it's just, where is the online component? Let me in, let me play.
Well,
I want to get back in there, but
everybody's got to get their piece. All the
uh,
states are fencing each other out. It's like we can't just have like a federal, like an American pool. It's like you have the Nevada pool, you have the Jersey pool, you have the Pennsylvania pool, and the regulators don't, pardon my language, don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to either how to grow an ecosystem or regulate sports better, regulate gambling, the thing that they're supposed to regulate. They don't have a ton of knowledge on it. I mean, Spanky has said that part of what he wants to do with his lobbying group is educate regulators on how to do a better job of regulating the space from the better side. And while I think that's an admirable goal, if I'm being realistic, the regulators are there to protect the income for the state, not to protect the bettors and not to protect the casinos. That's what they're interested in. So, I mean, if we can make some sharper, great. Like Massachusetts, of all people, is investigating limiting as a practice, and whether or not they want to consider getting, not permitting that. We'll see what happens, but you know, hope springs eternal, right?
Well, I mean, I think even if limiting, right, if there was a certain threshold, right, like you have to take at least X amount. I wonder if that would do anything. I mean, but then again, like thinking about it, it'd probably be laughably low, right? They would be like, oh, $100 or something, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's online poker is, there. I have lots of thoughts going back to college, and like me and my buddy, just like we were both Omaha high low. That was our game, and we would just like Poker Stars Friday night, just sit down and play a 24 plus 2, and just that was it. That's what we do on Friday nights. We'd sit down, we'd play online poker, and like I always think every once in a while I get the itch, and just like the amount of hoops I got to jump through, like it goes away instantly.
Well, even
um
then, like online poker, where are you going to find an Omaha high-low game
yeah,
these days? I mean, those were special times, man. I
yeah,
mean, I was primarily a stud player. I played all the stud variants, like high, stud high, high low, Raz, and at Foxwoods, which was relatively close to where I was living, I could get a stud high game. But those days are gone, man. We didn't realize how good we had it.
there was a there was a website. I forgot what it was called. It was called like Royal Poker or Royal. I know it was Royal something, Royal Casino Poker or something. I don't remember. And I remember they had a sign up bonus that if you launched an account, verified and everything, they'd give you like $10 free or something. And I don't even know the amount of accounts that my buddy and I opened for that $10. And we were trying to figure out the quickest way to just get it in. So the quickest way to get it in was playing 5 card stud, all no limit 5 card stud, like just the most degenerate of possible games to try and turn this $10 into like something. And it was just, man, yeah, I mean, those were wild times we were living. I still remember playing on Party Poker, which was like the ultimate fish factory.
Yep.
Just yeah, it sucks. Like, and you know, like me, there's just something about sitting in a poker room that I just don't, just does not, is not attractive to me. Like, I don't want to go to Vegas and like sit in a poker room. I don't want to go to the casino and sit in the like playing live. I love playing live with my friends. I think it's fun. I have a nice poker chip set and stuff, and like, we used to have a small game we would play. But I don't know, just playing live like with other people. Like I don't know, there's something about having the screen in front of me and not having to deal with other people. I think part of it is too just like it's like playing a video game to me, right? And like the tilt
Yep.
factor. The tilt factor, right? Something just absolutely insane happens. I like the fact that I can sit here, swear to myself, stomp around, right, and no one has to see me. You know, but yeah,
I mean,
man.
I do enjoy playing live, but my challenge is like my wife, knows how much I like poker. She's gotten out of this habit, but for a while, we go to a casino, we go to Vegas or whatever, and she'd be like, why don't you go play poker? It's like you can't just like sit down at a poker table for like 90 minutes.
Mhm,
It's like if you're going to sit down, it's like you're going to be there for like, if it's up to me, I'm going to be there for like 8 hours.
mhm.
I know some people can go way longer than that, but for me, it's like I can't just like bang in and out of a poker game. It's like if I'm going to play, and I'm going to go sit down for however long it's going to be. But like blackjack, you can hit and run. Blackjack, you can pop in, you can play for 20 minutes and whatever, get up and leave. But poker, there's a lot that goes into just sitting down at the table. You know what I mean? You got to
Yeah.
get chips. You got to post your blind. You got to hope you get a hand after like 3 hours of sitting there. So that's always been like the biggest breaks for me every time we go to Vegas from playing poker these days. It's like I can't like I'm not gonna tell my wife to chill for 8 hours while I go sit at the table.
Yeah, I have the same thing. Like I've thought about doing like one of the sit and go tournaments that they have in the morning, but like granted, just purely for fun because if I remember like the format is just like awful. for them, and they're like $75, and it's like 50 plus
$30 rake.
25 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's pretty bad. But yeah, I just, the poker rooms had started closing. Now they're starting to reopen because, like I said, it's getting more and more popular. But I just, yeah, I'm a bigger fan of just like being able to play online. Maybe I'll just sign up for one of the sites when I'm in Vegas and just hop on the Vegas thing and play a little bit. But obviously, we got way off topic there, but with talking about all that stuff. But coming back to BetBash, so from a sports side, you think like who do you think would benefit from going to BetBash?
I'd say anybody who wants to take it at least semi seriously. When I say take it, any kind of sports betting activity. So, I have a full time job. I started doing this as like, I started doing like the origination both in handicapping for horse racing as a way to, try to learn a little bit of data science, push my knowledge in that arena. And I was like, hey, if I make a couple of bucks, great. If I lose a couple of bucks, great. I learned a lot of stuff that I can apply to my career and everything like that because I'm a software developer by trade. So that was the original idea, and then it turned out, oh, I'm not so bad at this. I actually made some money, and then I got kicked off sites. So I'd say if you're at the point where like some of the vocabulary and you're trying to take it seriously because it's not super expensive. I had a non VIP ticket, which is like $600 to $700. Then you got to factor in the hotel and flights and all that stuff. So like, just for me, putting my wife aside, I'm in for like $1,500 for this thing. So like if you're just kind of if you're like the guy who goes, I like to fire at an NFL game on the weekend and I don't line shop or know the difference or anything, it's probably not worth the money spent. Maybe you get the entertainment value out of it, but the ROI on your education or your networking probably isn't there. So I'd say if you're at the point where you're starting to like take it pretty seriously, that's when you should start considering something like this. And obviously, if you're a professional or you're in the industry or whatever, then by all means, I would say heavily consider it.
I guess my next question, I mean, you kind of already answered it, I think, earlier because there was only really one or two horse racing centric things there. So for horse racing, it doesn't seem like it's, if you're a serious horse better, it's really, really worth it. But um, do you think that a similar conference like Bet Bash, but more horse racing centric, could be useful?
Could it be useful?
Or do you think that unlike with sports betting where it seems like people are more open to talk about stuff, do you think that everyone is just so tight-lipped and keeping things close to the vest that it wouldn't be possible to get anything useful out of it?
So that's a myth that horse players tend to be tight-lipped, and like Andy Beyer said this in one of his original books, and I think I posted the quote in the Discord probably a few years ago. At this point, where everybody has in their heads the image of the rundown horse player who's grumpy, doesn't want to talk to anybody, got his head in his form, and he's not very social. Most horse players, if you talk to them about horse racing, they will open the kimono and tell you anything you want to know about what they think about, strategy, horses, tracks, trainers, whatever, up to a point. And I think the limit is at the CRW level because those guys are playing at a level that we think we know, but it makes your nose bleed just thinking about how much money those guys are turning over a year. Um, like Dennis Montoro, like I'll sing his praises because he's pretty open about what he's doing. He doesn't share any particular edges or anything like that, which I respect, but he's happy to talk about the game. Happy to talk about how he got started, where you should be looking for edges. He's trying to teach you to fish, not give you a fish. So I think like, you're not going to get the CRWs to open up shop. But I think guys like you and me, or some guys that we know, or even some people in the industry, we'd be more than happy to talk shop. And I think there's potential to be value there. But I think the concern is that I don't know how many people like us there are out there. I think there's the old dyed in the wool. I've been doing this for 60 years. I'm blowing my social security check every week, betters. But those guys, I don't know how open they're going to be to going to a conference and networking. Guys in our age bracket, or I'm not young anymore, but God, that we do know some younger guys who are into this stuff, who are hungry and just like to talk shop. I mean, are there enough people out there to justify a conference? I don't know. If somebody put it on, I would go. That's my take on it.
Um, I guess what was what would you say the age demographic was for BetBash?
Probably mostly centered around my age bracket. So, like, if it's like a bell curve, I'm 43. I'd say the median was probably like 40. There were definitely some guys in their 20s who were there, and Spanky spends a lot of time honoring like the old guard, where like they do like the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame induction. That crowd tends to be on the other side of 60. Um, but I'd say the bulk of the audience was probably 30s to 40s, that type of thing.
Okay, so basically, who horse racing wants to get.
Yeah, you'd hope, disposable income. Some of us get time on our hands, but like I said, Amwager did a great job trying to get out there, trying to grow it. I just wish more people would do what Amwager was trying to do.
Yeah, I remember the guy who's over at ABR now. I think Dan Torgman, is that his last name? I think that's what it is. He they had a Equestricon that they ran with the Breeders' Cup for a bit, and I think they did it like 2 years, and I don't know what happened. Um, but I had I had mentioned to Emily at some point about possibly trying to do something. Well, I just floated the idea similar to I did to you, like ask the question, because like I said, like my thing is that I'm trying to put stuff out into the world to get new people into it, right? I mean, I spent a bunch of time on the old Discord until I just couldn't do it anymore. On the very public one, just helping people, doing stuff there. Obviously, the videos we do on here, the handicapping stuff, and just trying. I mean, trying to have fun with it, not take it too seriously. And but
But you're a
yeah,
dude. You're just a dude, like, who
exactly.
likes the sport. Where is the jockey club? The jockey club should have somebody in there, trying to do this type of thing.
Yeah.
One of the major tracks, or like, an ADW or something. Somebody with that, where this is their full time job. I mean, I'm playing the role of Andrew this week, going off, but somebody in the industry, we need them to step up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's we're circling the drain. Josh cannot carry the weight by himself. You know.
No, and it's funny because like I see some stuff that's very positive. I like I'm gonna we talk about all the good AM wagers, and I'm gonna talk about their main nemesis in Twin Spires, Churchill Downs. Um, Churchill Downs is done, or Twin Spires has done uh, they have tournaments on a weekly basis at this point where they have multiples, and what I really like about them is they started doing them at different price points. So they'll have, they obviously they'll run them at their own track. So like during the week, like Presque Isle Downs or whatever, they'll have a $75 tournament or something.
Mhm.
But it's all live money, and it's like $50 live money, $25 of the prize pool or something. I saw that they have one for Kentucky Downs opening card on Thursday, and they have on the weekends they're usually a little bit more, right? They're like 150, 200, and I've already seen some of them. They've seeded BCBC seats and other stuff. So I think I still think that tournaments are kind of an untapped thing. I think horse racing once again also did a really great job killing those off a couple years back, which you can look up. But it seems like they're kind of making a return. But and similar to how I think something like DFS kind of help sports betting, I would even say,
Yeah.
when DFS, which now is just like an impossibility to get into.
I think
Is
DFS was always a way to do sports betting before you could do sports betting.
Yeah,
No, I don't think it was like meant to be an entry point. It was meant to be a way to kind of evade the law. And I agree with you. Like tourneys are super fun. They offer a ton of great price points. But like you said, the tracks don't want to have they want their piece. And then they also exist in what seems to be something of a legal gray area. So I think horse tourneys just got bounced out of Michigan or
mm,
something like that, where I live in New Hampshire, and we've had all the ADWs up here forever, and then Churchill bought my local card room to put historical horse racing machines in there, and then all of a sudden the state woke up and goes, "Hey, wait a minute! What are these horse racing apps that you can bet on that have existed for like 20 years?" And it's like they're like, "No, we can't have that because you're not paying us." So now there's like there's a bunch of problems with like TVG and like Twin Spires in New Hampshire. So it's a combination of like the law and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, I mean, we should be pushing tourneys, I think, in terms of like a great way to introduce people to the game. You get a whole afternoon of fun for like $10.
yeah. Yeah, and like I mean, I think tomorrow's Kentucky Downs one is $100, but it's $75 live money, $25 prize pool, right? And if there's 50, 100 people in there, right? It's like you're playing for a little bit extra cash on top of it. And hey, turning $75 into a couple hundred and then getting a little icing on the cake, like it's a fun concept. I always enjoy those live money tournaments, but yeah, I don't know, man. Sometimes I sit here and I wonder like why I spend so much time doing this stuff, because I think, like you said, like sometimes it's just like who really cares, but we have
I
fun.
care, Josh. I've been
We
a
still
faithful
have fun doing it.
listener.
We still have fun doing it, so we continue to do it. But um yeah, Bill, I appreciate you coming on and filling in this week. Obviously, that you can. Do you post much on Twitter?
Not a lot. Yeah, once I get going on something, I do small bursts. Like the whole thing at Saratoga last summer got quite an extended burst out of me. But I'm trying to get better about being on there. It's a hostile environment, so
Yeah,
but that's how like you have to meet people these days. So it's like at BetBash, a lot of people already knew each other just from seeing
their Twitter handles.
follow exactly. And then for me, it's like I know who all these people are, but none of them know who I am because I just lurk. So
Yeah.
I got to do a better job of putting myself out there.
Well, obviously, yeah, your handle is at Foxhound6. And then, yeah, I appreciate you coming on. And that's going to do it for us here. Obviously, check us out at onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I'm at Cherry Drank. And yeah, no stream this week. But hey, Hong Kong's just around the corner. We'll have some You've Got to Be Shots in Amy coming up soon here. Andrew should be back next week if he doesn't get, if he doesn't rob Saratoga. Which happen. But let's have a good week, guys. Enjoy the long weekend.